control your own channels, control your own voice, control your own product. That doesn't mean that you're going to be Pat McAfee with that massive contract tomorrow, but you can build towards owning and controlling your own thing. It is very important to work for yourself.
I'm Ndamukong Suh, and welcome to No Free Lunch, where we talk to experts and athletes about how the most successful people in sports manage their money and grow their wealth. Danny, what's going on, big dog?
Living the dream. You know, it's above 30 degrees here in New York, so your boy's living different right now. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Okay. You enjoying that warm weather, as you call it, but it's 75 and sunny in here where I'm at.
Yeah, I know. I was spoiled when we were at the Super Bowl, but it's also a special time of the year because the Super Bowl happens. There's All-Star. And this year, we're fortunate enough to have the Olympics, the Winter Olympics as well. So even though we're hungover from football being over, it's sports back to back to back to back.
Yeah, man. All-Star weekend is getting ready to come. I was supposed to go out there for a specialty dinner, but I'm going to have to pass on that one. I got to take a little bit of a travel hiatus for a little bit, but that won't be for long. We got to get back on the road for No Free Lunch. But yeah, I'm excited about the Olympics, man. I think the Olympics, I've been watching, I believe it's curling. Where they be sliding down the ice and yeah, for sure. So it's been super nice to check it out with the kids and have conversations about, Dad, what's this? And I was like, yeah, this is curling.
Yeah. No, it's a crazy, very unique sport. But today's guest, Andrew Siciliano, familiar name and face, former host of NFL RedZone from back in the day, if you all remember that on the DirecTV, and revolutionary in its own right, but also is host of the Gold Zone here for NBC in the Winter Olympics. So he's covering curling to skiing to snowboarding, all the sports, and I'm excited to talk about not just football but even the Olympics.
Yeah, man. Let's jump right into it. Football, Olympics, all the above, all the sporting events, and maybe a little curling. Let's jump right into it right here at No Free Lunch. Andrew, welcome to the show, man. Good to see you. It's been a while.
And Ndamukong Suh, good to see you, man.
How was your Super Bowl week? And obviously you're now in Milan. You missed the jet with Tarico, I hear.
You know what? I wish I was in Milan. I'm in the Milan of Connecticut, which is Stamford, Connecticut.
Yes.
NBC has 1,700 people and 17 control rooms doing a massive portion of the studio coverage from here. So this is my fourth Olympics and the fourth time that I've spent 3 weeks of my life in beautiful Stamford and Greenwich. A couple of days ago, it was 15 below with the wind, which was like 40 degrees colder than Milan, but it makes it feel like the Winter Games, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. The winter games are exciting and obviously come around few and far between the many Super Bowls that we get to enjoy every year. But I want to jump into where you are as a young child and growing up in Northern Virginia. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not mistaken, it was Reston, Virginia.
You are correct.
And tell me what that was like as a young boy.
So basic middle-class background, I guess you could say. My dad worked for the government. My mother's a school teacher and then a realtor. We grew up playing soccer like you. I know you grew up playing soccer as well as a little kid. I played soccer and I played Little League Baseball, went to public schools, went to South Lakes High School. And your basic middle-class suburban D.C. existence where most of the people in the neighborhood had parents that worked for the government. Almost everybody wasn't from there. Like everyone comes to Washington for, various reasons. That was before like the big tech boom in Northern Virginia, where now on every other block is a big data center before AOL moved there all those years ago. So everyone worked for the government in some capacity. And we all grew up like massive sports fans, and the Redskins were winning Super Bowls back then. We didn't have the Nationals. We had to go to Baltimore to go to Orioles games. The Colts were still in Baltimore. I'm old. But we all rooted for our own teams that we got from our parents. Like one of my best friends was a Giants fan because his family was from New York. Another great friend who was a Pats fan because his family was from Boston. It was a much different time. The 80s seems like a while ago.
Yeah, no, I was an '80s baby myself, but on the later half of that side of things. So I don't really remember all of the great memories. But I'd love to understand what your memories were living in middle class and growing up in middle class. What was your first memories of money, and how did that come about in the conversations with your parents from that perspective?
So my dad worked at the Federal Reserve. So at the Federal Reserve Bank. So he would often try to explain money at the table or banking at the table. And I think our eyes kind of glossed over me and my brother. But the one lesson that I remember from him when it comes to money and value, I always collected baseball cards. Like that's how I made I mowed lawns in the neighborhood, or I shoveled snow around the neighborhood, and I would get a couple of bucks and I would buy baseball and football cards. And I remember as a kid, I came down to the breakfast table in the morning and I had somebody's rookie card. I don't remember whose rookie card. And I told my dad that like this card was worth $50. And he said, no, it isn't. I said, yes, it is. And I had like the magazine Beckett's, which was the magazine you had to get to see the values every month. I said, look. And I opened it up and I said, look, this says it's worth 50. And he says, it isn't worth 50 until somebody gives you $50 for it. Right now, it's a baseball card. You're holding it. So it's worth to you whatever value you put on it. But just because that magazine says it's worth $50, it isn't. Somebody has to give you $50.
Yeah. No, I love that because that is something I think a lot of people have to understand as they grow up and fail to realize, and especially in real estate, when it comes to understanding where the value of something is, it's only as good as what somebody will be willing to pay for it. And you see this downturn of different things from a market in 2008 to where we've seen the height of things in 18, 19 before 2020 and COVID comes around. But even then COVID, tough times, but housing prices have gone skyrocketing. So how has that lesson from your father kind of instilled you to where you are right now and kind of you focusing on your particular craft of being in the media space? And what was the first game that you also fell in love with, why you wanted to be in sports media?
So I played baseball first. Shockingly, I never had the size to play football. I played baseball first. I also realized pretty early I was not going to be a very good baseball player, despite the fact that I thought I played a decent second base. My baseball career ended quickly. I wanted to do something in sports, and so I started writing for the student newspaper in high school. Believe it or not, I was a pretty quiet, shy kid in school, and so I thought that writing for the newspaper, in which I could just quietly talk to people and write something that would be a way in which I wouldn't have to be front and center with anything. So I did that. And then that turned into college radio and then whatever. That's a whole nother story. But that was kind of my way into sports. But baseball was by far my favorite, baseball and football. But like my football was nothing more than playing with the other kids in the neighborhood kind of thing. But I really fell in love with those two. And then I would stay up at night during the summer listening to baseball games on the radio. Remember those old clock radios with like the big red numbers and the dial? Right. So after 8:30 Eastern time, all the low-powered radio stations back then would go off, and then only the big 50,000-watt stations you can hear would stay on, and then you could hear baseball from all over the country if you knew where to find it. So I would sit in bed with that clock radio doing my homework, and I would go back and forth looking for like the Cubs on 720 or the White Sox on 1,000 or the Indians at that time on 1100 or the Red Sox on I think 1080 or 1090, and the other would have the Phillies anyway, that's what I did. I guess that kind of turned into RedZone years later, but me bouncing around to games for free, not for money, That was my life.
That's interesting in that correlation to RedZone, because it brings up my next question for you. Like, being a kid that was quiet and shy and wanted to be out of sight, out of mind, but still immersed in the world of sports, how do you translate that into being into the probably one of the most successful properties of the NFL Sunday Ticket RedZone from 2005 to 2023, and basically birthing that? Like, what was those challenges like as a young kid and an adult as you transition and create that great property?
So it's a lot to unpack there. But let's start with like my journey back earlier. Like I said, I was a shy kid. I was going to be like a newspaper writer. I figured that was my win. I remember as a little kid watching Sports Center and coverage of the All-Star game, the baseball All-Star game. And I remember watching, they had a shot of like batting practice, like a bump out to break. And you saw all, Kirby Puckett and all these greats, Don Mattingly, like leaning up against the batting cage, just BSing. And I'm like, man, I want to be there, because you saw all the writers there with him. Like, I that's where I want to go. So I'm going to keep writing. And then I got to college, and always, I guess, in the back of my mind, I wanted to do baseball on the radio, because that's what I would listen to every night. There was no extra innings. Like, you wanted to hear what was going on at all these games. You had to bounce around and find it, or call George Michael, the legendary George Michael, the sports machine. He would have like a sports machine you would call on your house phone, and at the top of every hour, I think it was 202-362-4444 in DC, you would call and they would record the new scores. So anyway, I got to college and I decided I'm going to try out the student radio station, and I walked in as a freshman and they gave me a tryout, and somehow I got on the radio, and then I eventually went from print journalism to a broadcast major. And then as I guess with kind of each passing day and week and year, you become more comfortable on the radio, and you kind of find your own voice and your own confidence. And eventually that confidence that you would have on the radio would turn into confidence in the real world and your personal life, and you would feel a little more comfortable talking in front of other people. I never wanted to do television, dude, ever. Like ever, ever, to the point where, like, to graduate, we had to do our TV lab class, whatever, at Syracuse. Like, I would have people do all the work. Like, my buddies, we got to go shoot something. Like, you do it. I can't. Like, I don't want to do this. I had no desire to do this whatsoever. I never made a TV resume tape. I never did anything like that. And I just started doing radio, and somehow my radio career eventually, after Chicago, took me to LA, and I walked in. It was in 2000, Fox Sports Radio, and I'm rambling here, man. I'm sorry. Fox Sports. No,
you're good.
Radio
I love it.
Started a new syndicated sports radio network, and I was one of the people they hired. And we all from all parts of the country moved to LA. Anyway, after about a year doing that, we had a studio in the Fox Television lot, Pico and Motor in LA, which I know you've been to. And I walked upstairs to the 5th floor, and I walked into the office of George Greenberg, one of the executives, and I said, hey, I want to try TV. Like, I will do anything. I will go do sidelines on Fox Sports West 10 in Woodland Hills, in the Valley, for Taft High School, whatever, on a Friday night. Like, just give me a shot doing anything. And he said, let me get back to you. And he came back to me about a week later, and he said, hey, I want you to do a weekly feature on the best damn sports show, period. I'm like, excuse me? Like, what are you talking about? No, this will be good. I'm like, okay. And so they paid me $150 a week to do a feature on the best damn sports show, period. That really wasn't even a feature. It was like 90 seconds. They brought a camera to the radio studio, and I just did a bunch of stories, and they animated it. That was it. That eventually led, a year or two later, to Fox deciding they were going to launch the first ever fantasy football program nationwide on FSN. Okay. And that same executive, George Greenberg, said to me, hey, do you know anything about fantasy football? I'm like, sure, I play fantasy. He's like, can I call you an expert? I'm like, sure, whatever. We shot a pilot. It got on the air. It was Patrick O'Neill, former Bear quarterback Eric Kramer, and Hall of Famer Warren Moon, although he wasn't in Canton yet. And we did a fantasy show. We did that for 2 years. And then David Hill, who ran Fox, the legendary man who put the blue dot on the hockey puck and brought the NFL and the NFL to Fox, came up with an idea that he wanted to launch the RedZone channel. It was his idea. They had started something in Italy called Forza Goal on Sky Italia there, where they did all the Saturday soccer games in a similar fashion. And Fox at that point owned DirecTV. So David ran both.
Okay.
And he took all these Fox people, and I was one of them, and said, we're going to launch this football channel on Sundays for Sunday Ticket. And we launched that in 2005 in standard def at the Fox slot for our first 3 years. And somehow it took off.
I mean, that's impressive. And I wanted you to take us a little further. I mean, you took us quite underneath the hood. I want to go a little further.
Man. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. But when it came to preparing for those long 7+ hour days, I'm curious, how did you prepare for that in real time? Because when I look at it, and me being on Sky Sports and working some of these grueling hours in the UK from 5 to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, especially for playoff games, how do you prepare for those things?
So it helps to have good teammates, right? You do that with Jason Bell, right?
Jason Bell and Neil Reynolds, yeah.
All right, so Jason and Neil are amazing teammates, and I was very fortunate to have amazing teammates. And when everyone said, you guys had a good show, if they said that, I would say, because we had good games, right?
Yeah.
Like when we have good games, we have a good show.
For sure.
We had an amazing crew as well. I was the guy talking for 7 hours, and really I was just pacing in front of a wall of television, screaming and yelling. But we have like the control room for the RedZone channel, much like the control room here for Gold Zone. Those are the people that deserve all the credit because they're watching the 10 games at once and they're listening to the truck, right? So they have to just like, hey, we can't go to Denver because they're about to go to a break. They're going to double up on this kickoff. Or we can't go to Philadelphia because off camera, you don't see it right now. There's an injury and they're about to go to break as well. Or somebody just threw the red challenge flag. Whatever. They're the ones in there actually juggling. And it was a great partnership where because we had the same crew for so long, we're able to kind of think with the same brain. And then I had, William Kalick and Daniel Burris and Ben Fleming, a great crew, my spotters or stat guys, if you will, that kind of paced with me to help. Like if my eye's over here and I'm seeing you sack the quarterback, sometimes it's impossible to see Peyton Manning throwing a touchdown over here to my right? So those guys were amazing. But the preparation was kind of a week-long thing, man. It's like football is the only thing we care about in America that time of year. And so it's nonstop, whether it was DirecTV's research or NFL Network's research when I eventually went to work there as well. I was lucky, man. Like I had a job at NFL Network during the week where my prep was my day job. My prep for Sunday was my day job, right? Yeah. So like I would do 2-3 hour show in the middle of the afternoon, 4 or 5 days a week at NFL Network. Where like by the time we get to Sunday, like it's a layup at that point. Like I've talked all these stories through at that point. By the time you get to Sunday, you need to make sure who's up, who's down. Like, did somebody swap out a kicker on Sunday morning? Who's sitting on a big milestone, maybe, that kind of stuff. But like, I was the luckiest guy on earth. I am, present tense, the luckiest guy because I get to talk about football on Sunday and my day job helped me prepare for that.
I want to touch base a little bit more and just kind of reiterate, you said your teammates, because honestly, Neil Reynolds and Jason Bell, like two amazing guys.
They're awesome.
And funny enough, it was a great situation for me because Jason and he's known me since I was a young pup. Like I met him 20 plus years ago.
Wow.
And then Neil, we've known each other throughout the years. I've done some Super Bowl events with him earlier on in my career, traveling around the world, but more specifically to the UK for the NFL. And so to have that combination and that continuity already, and then Neil sets you up with amazing notes, questions, tees up and transitions, and then Jason, that energy that he always brings, like it's spot on when you say like your teammates. Yes, you got to have great games because it's boring to sit there and watch a blowout, but obviously your teammates help and enhance it and take it to another level. So with all that kind of being said, you see Stephen A. Smith, Pat McAfee, and all these great personalities that have multi-million-dollar contracts. What would be advice for somebody, and if you were talking to a younger self of your, or even somebody just coming out into this world of media, to allow them to be 27 years deep in the game? What advice would you have for them?
Be good to people. Be a good teammate, like you just said. It's never about you. It's about the game. It's never about you. It's about the game. It's about the show. It's about the product that all of you have collectively put in. Never burn a bridge, right?
Yes.
Because you never know.
My mom always saying that.
Yeah, man. Like I've had multiple times in my career where, let's be honest, like sometimes you don't get along with everyone you work with, right?
Yeah.
Where I haven't burned a bridge. And you know what? Weeks, months, sometimes years later, there's a payoff to being a good person, right? There's a payoff to showing people grace, because sometimes you don't know what they're going through as well in that moment. So be good to people, whether they're the intern or whether they're the president. They should all obviously get the same treatment. The other thing I would say, and if I had to go back and do things differently, and by the way, you can still do things like there's always tomorrow, right? You're always writing your own story. Is control your own story. Is control your own business. Is to you have right here. We all have one of these here, these phones that is more television producing power than when I graduated college, and I'm old, in '96. That the entire Syracuse Newhouse, the famed Newhouse School, more TV producing power in this phone than that building had collectively in '96. So I tell young people now, like control your own channels, control your own voice, control your own product. That doesn't mean that you're going to be Pat McAfee with that massive contract tomorrow, but you can build towards owning and controlling your own thing. It is very important to work for yourself. It's always great to work for people. Like I am very happy to be sitting there working for the NFL and for NBC and for Yahoo and the Cleveland Browns. I am blessed to work for all of those people. You could also do what Pat did, right? Which is work for yourself and then work for ESPN, right? Like you have that power to write your own story.
No, I love that, man, because it's advice that I'm actually going to take, and something that I think. But
you're doing this on your own. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're creating your own thing after your career.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not easy. And that's why I asked the question, because I want to be able to have that advice, not only selfishly, but for others, as you say, like the power that you have with your phone and such finite resources can allow you to expand and grow, and then start to go work with some of the bigger entities and whatnot, which is exciting and also scary at the same time. But don't be afraid to be uncomfortable to go and do that.
Absolutely. And I was watching a podcast with, there's a guy does the Y-Files, AJ Gentile. It's a YouTube channel on like unexplained mysteries and stuff like that. I was watching his story last night. It's one of my favorite YouTube channels. And he talked about how like he had 1,000 YouTube subscribers and like 1,500 YouTube subscribers. And his wife was telling him, hey, hon, like maybe one day, right? And he kept at it and he kept at it. And then one day it just blew up. And he posted a video with 50,000 views. And then the next thing you know, he was getting 1 million views on any and everything he posted. And then like he finally got there. It's not going to always happen overnight. Like going viral with a post isn't a business, right? It can be a stepping stone. The goal isn't and should never be go viral once. No, it should be produce good content, own your own business, and build something.
Really, honestly, build something, aka a community.
Yes,
and somebody that wants to continue to follow you.
Yes, because when you can get people to care, then you've done something. Like in our world, when you're trying to tell a story on TV, football, baseball, whatever, you always have to ask. I always ask, like, why should people care? Because that's what you need to convey to the viewer, the listener. Hey, look over here. I'm going to tell you something right now that is important, but you need to care about it. And here's why. And when you make people care, that community builds. And it's like this for the Olympics as well, where you're like these athletes have worked their entire lives, like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. wake-up calls, parents sacrificing to take them to practice for their entire lives. It's like you want to make sure in this moment you can explain to the viewer why they should care and like honor the sacrifice and the moment that these people have worked for.
You mentioned the Cleveland Browns, and before we get into the Olympics and all the amazing things that are transpiring over the next handful of weeks, I got to ask you. I'm sure you might have shared this for your podcast, or will hear shortly. If you were the GM of the Browns, who is under center week 1, 2020-26?
I would tell you that, because I know where we're going here, Shedeur's got a good shot. But they're going to add somebody else to that room. And I think the question is, as we get towards April 23rd, and you know how quarterbacks always, you don't think don't think he's going to go in the first round, whomever he is, but you always end up with more than just the guy going number 1 overall. Do they draft a quarterback? Do they add a quarterback in free agency? Does it come down to the 3 guys currently in the room? Shedeur, Deshaun Watson, wouldn't count him out, or Dylan Gabriel. I don't know, but I do think they're going to add somebody. The Shedeur story was a fact. How do I put this into the right context? I really like Shedeur. Like, he's a good dude. And he worked his tail off, and his teammates really like him, especially the younger teammates. He's got this gravitas to him. He's just a cool dude, and his teammates really, really like him. He made a lot of really big plays in the second half of the season. He also, at times, and he admits this because he's a human being, he looked like a rookie quarterback, like any rookie quarterback.
As he should.
As he should.
That's how you learn.
He's a rookie quarterback. But there were enough moments where you're like, I see it. It's there, and he knows it's there, and they know it's there. The question is, can you get it enough consistently, and can he be your day-to-day starter? I think he's got a really good shot, but the job is not going to be handed to him, and he himself has said, because he says the right things, he doesn't want the job handed to him. He's going to have to go out there and win it. And people say, well, why was Todd Monken? What was that video the Browns posted on IG and Twitter when Monken got the job and Shedeur came in and he hugged it out? Like, what's the deeper meaning to that? Like, there's no deeper meaning. He was in the building working and coaching QB, hugged it out, and they had a moment. Like, there's no grand conspiracy behind every Shedeur story. He's working hard. He got his shot, and he's trying to prove people wrong.
Yeah, it's always interesting because, the quarterback position is so polarizing, positive or negative. And when I look at Shedeur and I look at the overall ability of what they have, and ultimately, you even take his name out of it, you want to be able to have a coach that believes in this player and actually gives him an opportunity, or whoever their quarterback is, to build a system in and around them. And I've always said this, the best coaches that are out there are not about putting their players in their system. It's about building a system that makes this player successful and then builds different elements around them so they can have a success.
Yeah.
Whether he's a running quarterback, passing quarterback, dual, doesn't make a difference. What is he excellent at, and how can we make that come to fruition at a higher level and add dimensions to him and grow from there?
Listen, here's what Shedeur is great at. And I know you've seen this. He's great at the deep ball. He's got great touch, right? And his accuracy is fantastic, right? The other stuff, he's a rookie quarterback. Like, go back, I don't know if you saw yet, Julian Love mic'd up during the Super Bowl, so he got a pick late in the game, but after the first drive or somewhere in the first quarter, he's over on the sideline saying, hey, he's a rookie quarterback. He goes, it's not Stafford from last week. He's got to see it open. Like there's a little hitch at the top of his drop where he's looking, making sure it's there, and then he's letting it rip. Like, I'm going to get one. He goes, it's not Stafford. I'm like, yeah, he's a rookie quarterback. And Drake May had a fantastic season. In the end, he came up against the number one scoring defense in the NFL. Shedeur had his moments, but in the end, he is still a rookie quarterback. And you just hope you can grow off these moments. He was the 144th pick. And if this goes viral, I'm sorry. There wasn't some massive conspiracy. He fell to 144, and Dylan Gabriel got the first shot because he was the 94th pick. You can't relitigate the draft. It is what it is. But Kevin Stefanski and Myles Garrett revealed this late in the season, where it was maybe around November. I'm trying to think. Because we were in Vegas. Somewhere around November, Myles revealed that Stefanski, every single morning during the season, was meeting one-on-one with Shedeur, going over practice from the day before. And then Kevin, he confirmed that. So he was working with him. He was going to get there. He eventually got there. And there were times where, wow.
That's why you keep things in-house. That's not for the public to know. But when it's time, it'll be announced. I want to transition into the Olympics, and there's 119, which this is astounding to me, medaled events.
Yeah.
And I wanted to understand, we talk about preparation, having a great team previously. How do you prepare for some of the most obscure sports? And we talked about it earlier in curling, but also like fencing. Like, how do you prepare for those things?
It's a lot, man. And I'm going to once again hand out flowers to the NBC research staff. They work year round on this because, for example, the Paris Games ended and we're now 18 months later. So they don't take a break. They prepare, and they're doing features and other Olympic content year round. So when I get here to the studio, you're joining forces with researchers and a production staff where Olympics is their life. So I lean on them like you wouldn't believe. Dan Meyer is my researcher. He's amazing. He was my guy for Paris as well. And we kind of have to have one brain, and he is there to correct me. Like, you're a little, hey, that pronunciation was a little off. And he is there to answer things like, hey, in the mixed doubles curling, they were playing 8 ends, and end is like an inning. And here they're playing 10 ends. Like, am I reading this right? No, you're wrong. You're right. Hey, and so in mixed doubles curling, it was 5 stones per end, and now it's, I hope I get this right, 8 stones per end. It is terrifying because for football, man, like I have the 10 screens or how many ever games we've got. Like, I'm not trying to flex. Like, I know everybody. Like, let's say there are 2,000 players in the league. Once you get through training camp, 2,000 on regular season rosters, although with the expanded practice squads now it's bigger. Like, I may need like turn to my spotter, like, hey, who's 23 on the Eagles? Like, who's the gunner? I just made up that number.
Yeah.
But like, you know everybody. Like, I go to the Senior Bowl every year. I go to the Combine every year. I used to go to East West every year. Like, I know everybody. I know everyone's backstory. I remember, like, oh, that coach used to have him 2 stops ago. Like, I know all that. I don't know all these people. Like, I don't know the Norwegian curling team. I don't know the 5th German luge team. That the Germans dominate luge. The 5th team is still good enough to get on the podium. Like, I don't. You cram, but like, I don't. And so they are a godsend to help you through each day. But every night I go back to my hotel room and I say, okay, what's in our window tomorrow? Say I'm on 3, 4, 5 hours. Here's what we're going to see. Like, master this stuff. And then with each passing day, it gets easier because, you know, the athletes that might have it competed on Monday are now back on Wednesday to fight for a medal. And so, like, then it gets stuck in your head.
Man, that's impressive because, I mean, studying not only for a great guest like you, who I've known for years, but also guests that I haven't known, like, that's one person. You've got multiples upon multiples of teams and different terminology that has to go into that. So that is quite impressive. With that being said, what is one sport you are always looking forward to watching the most this year?
In the Winter Games. So that's a really good question. I think most people would say hockey because that's the one they know. And the NHL guys are back for the first time in 12 years. It was not that way for me. I was more looking forward to the stories more than the sports, like Chloe Kim going for her third straight gold with a torn labrum in her left shoulder, or Michaela Schifrin or Jordan Stolz, who got the gold, or Ilya Malinin. I also get back into curling a lot. Full disclosure, I don't watch curling in between Winter Olympics. I don't, but it blows me away how many people get into curling.
I mean, it had me hooked the other day. I was watching it.
So you get my point. So why do you like it?
It's interesting. I think like the ability to finesse, like you're playing pool, but also at the same time, it's this big ball you get to slide down the ice with, and then the slowing it down, speeding it up. Like that to me is like just creative. And I think it's really my engineering brain, like how they approach and how they hit it is like, to me is, and I still don't know all the rules. So I would love to learn how to actually do it.
My dad and I were talking on the phone a couple of days ago, and he made some sarcastic remark about it. I'm like, Dad, stop. People love it. Like it's, and my dad, hence my last name, Italian heritage. I compared it to bocce for him. I said, it's bocce with brooms, basically. It's bocce on ice, but like you said, it's with pool. Like you can compare it to pool as well, billiards, because like there was a shot a couple of days ago where you're hitting one of the stones and then you're trying to like go corner pocket with it to knock out another one, but you couldn't go directly at it. You had to come in from the side. And in that way, it is very much like billiards. And you don't have, respectfully, you know, the caliber world-class athlete you have like going down in Super G, which is truly, you're putting your life on the line when you go down the mountain in Alpine. Ryan Cochran-Siegel, who won a silver this morning, second straight silver in the men's Super G. All these guys, like you saw Lindsey Vonn's accident, like all these skiers
that's
have
crazy.
Bad crashes and horrible injuries. But Ryan Cochran-Siegel said, at the top, when you're in the starting gate, it's like a funeral for everybody. Because those are his words, not mine. Like you're putting your life on the line every time you go down the mountain. You don't have that with curling, right? So I think there's like an everyman connection with it that people, you know, can get behind.
So you talk about storylines. I'd love to just get your opinion on Lindsey Vonn, because what I didn't understand is she tore her ACL and she made it very clear it was gone. There was nothing there. Then she turns around and still performing and competing, and she breaks her leg, correct?
Yeah, and she just had her third surgery. It wasn't just, she broke her leg. Like it
in multiple places.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't, but as a professional athlete and having played in the NFL for 13 years, I understand the difference between a boo-boo and a real injury.
Yeah, you're hurt and you're injured. Like there's two different. Yeah.
Like playing on a torn ACL, playing on a torn PCL, and playing on a sprained ankle versus a full broken bone or anything of that nature. Like I'm not understanding why she was even competing, because I would imagine why she ultimately got as hurt as she did is because of that ACL in some form or fashion.
So the injury at the end, she maintained she clipped a gate with her pole. And she got too close to a gate that threw her off balance. And she says it had nothing to do with the ACL. It also blew me away because, like, we've heard football stories where I think we had one this year. I can't remember who. Guy tears his ACL, finishes the game, didn't know it was torn. Afterwards, you find out it was torn, right? You've heard those stories. Yeah. This was a case where once you hear more stories about it afterwards, evidently this is a thing in downhill skiing. Like to the point where some skiers are really cagey about whether or not they have an ACL in either knee, that it's a thing and that you can brace it up and go. Now, bracing it up and going a week later is something different. But I can't remember off the top of my head, one of the other competitors in that event also competed either last year or in 2022 before Beijing on an ACL that she had torn like 2 months earlier. So it's actually not that uncommon. What was uncommon is that she was able to do it less than a week later. I don't remember. Did you ever tear yours? Either one? No?
Yeah, I've torn my ACL in college and played through a good part of the season, at least 3/4 of a season.
Did you know it was torn?
No, I didn't know it was torn.
Okay.
I didn't find out until after I went into winter conditioning, and then I tore the rest of it. So, but I was partially.
So it was a partial tear.
Yeah. So those are the things that's like, but I mean, a PCL, you quote unquote
can play on.
You can play on it. And I played on it professionally during, this had to have been, I think, 2020 or 21 season. And it hurt like hell, but I was at like 85, 90%. I have a great physical therapist and performance director that obviously and I had a solid 5-6 days, no practice, no nothing, and just rehabbing, was able to come out and play. But I just don't understand how that works. But again, that's a different mold and different mindset based on how they do things in downhill skiing. So, I mean, kudos to her.
Yeah, it's pretty. Look, she's amazing. Just the fact that this is only part of the story. She's 41. She quit in 2019. She retired. She did TV for NBC, and she was Lindsey Vonn, right? Living a great life. And she had her right knee replaced, or at least partial replacement, a titanium knee, basically, just for quality of life. Wow. And then she decided, like a year later, 2 years later, why don't I get back? I'm going to try. I'm going to ski again with a titanium right knee. And then she said, you know what? Maybe I'll actually compete again. And dude, on the World Cup circuit in December and January, she was on 7 out of 8 podiums. So before she tore the ACL in this training run, she was dominating the World Cup circuit. So she just didn't come back at 41 with a titanium right knee. She was a legitimate gold medal favorite because she was winning and winning and winning and winning in Western Europe on the World Cup circuit. And then she tore her left knee. So she went no ACL left knee, braced up, titanium right knee for that run.
When it comes to obviously a multi-decade long career and very successful across multiple networks, what would you say in your career is your biggest win to date? I
don't want to use the word lucky. I was in the right place at the right time.
No matter what.
You know, I also think you make your own luck to a degree, even though that's kind of corny and a cliche. But I was in the right place at the right time. I was working at Fox when David Hill and Eric Shanks had the brilliant idea to launch a RedZone channel. And, you know, I was nice to people and in the building and working hard, and I was given that opportunity. And we made some TV magic. And as you said earlier, kind of started a new era of the Whip Around show. That was my biggest win. Another biggest win was, you know, thanking the people that help you get here. Jeff Joniak, who's the voice of the Chicago Bears, who I think just finished his 30th season with the Bears. He took a risk on me, sight unseen, as a 21-year-old punk kid coming out of Syracuse, and hired me for $12 an hour to move to Chicago to be a reporter. Yeah. And I got a huge break coming out of college, and I got to, as a 21, 22-year-old kid, cover Michael Jordan and cover Dave Wannstedt Chicago Bears and cover Sammy Sosa's home run chase as a, you know, radio reporter in a huge market. So, I mean, having Jeff Joniak answer the phone and listen to my tape and hire me sight unseen, that was a massive win as well.
Just one follow-up to that, and just curious more so for myself, was there ever an athlete or a coach that made you change your perspective of how you covered athletes?
Yes. And I have a story for you. I need to look up the year. It was roughly, as I'm looking at my laptop here, it was roughly, 07, 08. And it was Pat Summitt.
Okay.
The legendary Tennessee women's basketball coach.
Yeah.
So, Ndamukong, back then, I was doing national syndicated sports talk radio for Fox. And I'll be honest with you, I was in right?
Okay.
I was the guy, well, because of sports talk radio, right? Like, if you don't have an opinion, no one's going to call. If you don't have an opinion, people aren't going to argue with you. If you don't have an opinion, people aren't going to be compelled to keep on listening. Obviously, that
you got to create your audience.
That whole thing goes today, right? So I was not very nice to the WNBA. I said some sarcastic things about the WNBA. I don't remember what it was, but like, whatever. It was stupid. In retrospect, I regret it. So one day my phone rings and it's Pat Summitt. Somebody had given her my phone number, connected us. And she said, "Hi, Andrew, it's Pat Summitt." I'm like, "Excuse me?" Now, I given a heads up that she might call, but I didn't actually believe it. So she called me.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Hey, I've been listening to the show. It's syndicated, so we're on in Tennessee. We're in town tomorrow to play UCLA at Pauley Pavilion. I'd love to invite you to come to the game and sit on the bench with us." And I was like, of course. I'm like, "Coach, my show goes until whatever with traffic. I might be there a little late." She's like, "I'll save the spot for you." I'm like,
"Yeah,
okay." And I'm like, oh boy, I'm going to get a talking to. I knew that I was, because I knew probably what this was about. So I speed to Pauley Pavilion. I find a parking spot. I might have been double parked. I know I didn't get towed. I might have gotten a ticket. And I run inside, and she had the spot at the very end of the scorer's table right next to where she would be standing, right? On the floor at Pauley. And this is in the Candace Parker era. And they go to halftime. They're losing to UCLA at the half. And so they go to the half, and she's like, "Hey, walk with me." And so we go into the locker room. We're like, whoa, like, I don't need to walk in. Like, I don't make it uncomfortable. Like, college athletes, women's locker room, I don't need to go in there. She said, no, come in. No one's taking their clothes off. So we go in, and she gives them the halftime speech. Needless to say, they come out, they blow UCLA's doors off, and they win at Pauley. And afterwards, Candace Parker and Coach Summitt and all the players are standing there signing autographs for like an hour, because you have all these young women and all these little girls in Southern California that came to see this great game. And they couldn't have been better. So anyway, after the game, Coach Summitt and I are talking, and she said, "Hey, I remember you saying on the radio that you had young cousins in Chicago, girls, and they play sports. Yeah. Have they ever gone to a Chicago Sky game?" I said, "I don't know." She goes, "You realize that even if the WNBA doesn't get great ratings and doesn't sell a lot of tickets, that it serves a purpose, right, for your cousins and for all those girls that were here to see us, right? It gives them confidence. It gives them hope. Like, I mean, not even taking into account that all these players are on scholarships and getting an education, and they are paying it forward as well, right? But that, like, all of this is good. And I couldn't have felt more grateful for the conversation and the opportunity, but also, like, just, it changed me. Like, it doesn't have to be snark, man. Like, snark is not analysis. That doesn't mean you can't have strong opinions. It doesn't mean you have to like everything. Just understand the why, right? And this was before long before Caitlin Clark and the explosion of the modern women's game. Long before that. I mean, Candace Parker was still very much a big deal. Tennessee's winning all their championships. It was their golden era, certainly, but not now. And it taught me a huge lesson, and I am forever grateful for it.
That is amazing, because there's a lot of people in life that could have easily said, I'm going to be resistant.
Right.
I'm not going to take this. But you were humble enough to actually have the conversation, show up. And granted, it is Pat Summitt, but not avoid it and be head on and have that conversation and that experience, which will forever change you, but for good.
Yeah. But it's not about me. Awesome. Yeah, it's not about me. There are a lot of other people that could have handled it differently than how she handled it. Right?
Exactly.
Like, she handled it differently.
And that is a great point. So again, not only kudos to you, but kudos to how she handled it and how she brought you into the fold, because what she realized was you hadn't had the experience to experience that, to have a different point of view, which is tremendous in how somebody approaches certain things. So I love that story. And man, if anything goes viral from this conversation, I hope that goes viral.
Yeah, she was so cool. And like I said, I am grateful, forever grateful. I mean, it's like John Wooden calling you up and saying, "Hey, can I teach you something? Can I tell you a story?" And you know, it was great.
Well, Andrew, this has been an amazing conversation, but I can't let you go just yet. Okay. I got to ask you my favorite question, which is, what is the biggest price you've had to pay for to date for a breakthrough?
For a breakthrough, or just in general?
For a breakthrough, it can be monetary, it could be non-monetary, just something that you had trials and tribulations, for lack of better words, that you went through, and it broke you into something, visualization or something in life that you needed to this day.
Sure. I would say the biggest challenge and the biggest sacrifice is being on the road all the time. And it takes a toll on your personal life, not to make this a sob story, but being on the road every week takes a toll on your personal life. It is always great to come home to your friends and family at the same time. It is a challenge because we all want to balance personal and professional success, right? We all need balance. We all need the yin and the yang. We all, whatever. But I would say that has been the price. Racing home on a Sunday night or racing home on a Friday morning after a Thursday game, trying to make it back to your loved ones is a challenge, and it takes a toll to all sides of your relationship. It also ratchets up anxiety probably far more in your head and puts far more stress on you than it should. But that, and it's not unique to our business. Like, there are a lot of people that spend their life on their road for their respective business. I'm very fortunate. I get to go to games. Like, I mean, for Pete's sake, I go to games. But in the same time, it is no different than all those other things in which you are away from your loved ones.
Yeah, man, I wholeheartedly agree with that, especially now with twin boys that are 4, about to be 5. And it's super interesting because now Kari, who's quote unquote, I mean, they're twins, who's the youngest, he will start to ignore me in the 24 hours before I leave. And Kingston, who's the oldest, he will cling to my leg and not let me leave. And like, it is one of the most heartbreaking things to like experience and go through. And so I wholeheartedly like travel and just getting back to the family is definitely key. And I mean, since the beginning, after Christmas, I was pretty much gone all of January until this past Monday through the Super Bowl. So, but the experiences in life that we are afforded, I got to be thankful on both sides.
But at the same time, like, I live to, and I know you do. I know you do, and you will as your twins grow up. Like, share those experiences. Like, I don't have kids. I have an 11-year-old nephew. I have an 18-year-old niece, and I have a 13-year-old niece as well. But to give them, and my father, who's a massive Browns fan, and a sports fan, and my mother as well, to give them those experiences, like to bring my nephew, who was turning 10 last year. We were in Washington on his 10th birthday, to like take him down to the sideline to see the Browns and the Commanders and to meet everybody. He came to the hotel the night before and sat in when I do my coach's interview with Kevin Stefanski, and Coach was awesome with him, basically interviewed my nephew. And he gets to meet all the players, like to share those experiences, to be able to take my parents to Game 6 of the World Series in 2016 when the Indians lost to the Cubs, but they were this close to winning the series for the first time since my dad was 3 years old, like to share those experiences. And I know you'll have that with your kids as well. That is why we work hard, so that you can see the smiles on their faces.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Andrew, man, thank you again. This has been awesome. I appreciate
Likewise,
it. I know you've got a ton of studying to do to get ready or to continue on in the Olympics. So kudos to you and the team, and we'll talk here again soon.
And Ndamukong, I'm glad we did it, man. I'm flattered by the invitation, and I hope our paths cross again soon.
The information provided on this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified financial and or legal professionals before making any legal or financial decisions or investments.
Man, what an amazing conversation with Andrew Siciliano. I mean, to think about all the things that he's built from RedZone and working for Fox, DirecTV, all these great platforms. But I think throughout that conversation, the big two pieces I want to take from it is simply this. One, your teammates are the most importantly, not only in sports, but business, but in everything that you're trying to do. And that's a teammate as a significant other and with business partners, let alone with TV partners, as I have great co-hosts at Sky Sports. Shout out to Jason Bell and Neil Reynolds, Phoebe Shedeur, and everybody else at Sky Sports. But also think about the experiences and being able to hear that story of how Pat Summitt said, Andrew, you've kind of downplay the WNBA and women's basketball. I just want you to come experience and see some of the best. Granted, she had Candace Parker, who's been on No Free Lunch before. To be able to have him change his opinion because of the experience he went through, I think that is marvelous in what she was able to create there for Andrew. And then he was embracing to it. So you got to give kudos again to both sides from that situation. But thank you again. Love what we're able to talk about there. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to No Free Lunch on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.